So today we're going to be talking about and sharing our ideas of using media in teaching and in our lessons. And this refers to songs or videos or whatever you would like to implement that's kind of media based. So firstly, why do you think it's beneficial to add that source of media into your lessons when you are teaching?
All right. Well, firstly, using different types of media can have a lot of different benefits. So, for example, it can enhance a student's listening skills. So, if they are having a lesson about an audio, about a specific topic, that can help with that. It also helps with engagement in classrooms, especially with the younger students. So if you play a song, that can always just grab their attention back again. And I think it also just adds variety to the classroom. Instead of just reading off a PowerPoint, there's now songs or games or different types of audio, which can really boost and create a much more fun classroom atmosphere. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that whole side of engagement and keeping that student engaged. It's just a fun, addition to the lesson. And I also think it helps increase and maybe regains their concentration a little bit. Using the song or the video, whatever it might be, just adds like a completely different element to the lesson, and it's not just focused on like the written and the reading part of it. So I definitely agree with that. And I also think it's really beneficial for breaking that lesson up a little bit, just giving them a bit of a break. Most of them have probably had a whole day of school already. So I doubt they'd want to kind of just, stare at a screen looking at words. So I think it can be really useful for all those things. So yeah.
Oh, I like that.
So what do you think are some tips, or what are your tips for choosing appropriate media for your lessons?
Right. Well, I think the most important thing is that you really need to ensure that the media that you choose is age appropriate. So, for example, if you are going to be teaching a teenager, don't go and play a song, that is about my head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Yeah.
Because, that's really just not relevant. And a teenager is really not going to be interested. So always just keep it age and level appropriate. And then I think like another thing, like especially with like a teenager or an adult, if you are playing an audio and if it's very, very long, and if you find that they are struggling to, understand that specific audio, you can always stop after like a minute or so and then ask a few, questions, just to break it up a bit. Because if you are going to listen to something that's 5 minutes long, that might create another element of boredom for them. So just try and break that down and always try and keep it relevant to the task at hand as well. And for you?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with age appropriate, level appropriate. I think that's really important, like you said. I also think it needs to be suitable and relevant to the material you are teaching.
Yes.
You shouldn't be having, a song play at the start of the lesson that is about fruits when you're actually teaching emotions, So just kind of try and link it back to what you're actually teaching your student. And talking about emotions, there's a really great song I found on Explore Planet English's YouTube that I used, and I implemented that in my lesson. And it was just so much fun because they just, kind of repeated all the different emotions, and it was like a bit of a chanting song, and it got my student chanting along and practicing how to say all the emotions correctly and all that kind of stuff. So it's really fun to implement media into the lessons, and especially when you find a website like Explore Planet English, which has so many different videos you can choose from. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever kind of looked on that channel and used some of their videos.
I have. I was actually just about to say, I teach a lot of phonics students, and what I have found on that channel is a lot of different phonics videos. So they basically show you how to pronounce the different sounds. So I like to make use of that video because it can also just help you as a teacher to ensure that you are saying the sound correctly. And at the same time, it will help your student to say the sound well. So yes, I love to make use of those videos in my classroom.
And then lastly, just, how do you go about using the media in your lesson? Do you, play the song maybe, or if you are using a song, do you play it once or twice? Do you only play it once? How do you kind of use it in your lesson?
Yeah. All right. So if it's a very, very young student who I know is prone to, looking at their toys and looking there and elsewhere, not really, paying attention as much as he or she should, then I usually play it at the start because it is a nice way to, warm up the lesson and to introduce the topic at hand. But like, let's say maybe about halfway through, I usually will add another song just in case. We might finish the lesson earlier, or, like I said, maybe he is feeling a bit bored or tired or not really, concentrating. So that's how I like to do it. And you?
Yeah, so I normally play the same song twice. So I'll play it at the start to kind of, like you said, introduce the topic and just kind of grab their attention a little bit. And I mostly teach younger students. So I'm working with, age group of anywhere 5 to about 10. So songs are relevant to this age group. So I play it at the start of the lesson, and then we kind of go through the material, and then towards the end, just before we end off, I like to play it again because then they kind of have a good understanding of what we've learned. So I feel like it makes a little bit more sense to play it at the end as well because, they're kind of familiar with the words or whatever it might be we're learning. For my older students that can comprehend concept questions, I like to play the song or the recording or whatever it may be, the video, and then ask them questions while pausing and kind of just checking if they've understood what they've watched or listened to. So generally, that's how I like to use the media, just kind of change it up. And of course, it depends on the student as well. So,
True.
What level they are or, how much they understand about the topic or the song. So, yeah, that's how I like to do it.
Oh, excellent. I'm going to steal some of those ideas.
Yeah. Okay, so if you like to implement any type of media in your lessons, please let us know down below and let us know how you like to implement it and how you use it in your lessons. We'd love to hear from you. So please remember to like and subscribe to this channel, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Become a TEFL expert with IQTEFL. Go to our website at www.iqtefl.com to find out more.